Hi beautiful souls, welcome to my channel Elle's Temple. So happy to have you all here. I hope you're all doing well wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to any of my returning viewers. Welcome if you're new to my channel. My name's Elle, I'm a goddess guide and intuitive tarot reader. And today's reading, I'm so excited to get into this reading, which is a full moon in Cancer, which is coming up on Tuesday, 26th of December. And we're looking at what this full moon in Cancer is illuminating for you and what cycle you're stepping into as a part of this full moon shift. So we've got the goddess Mama Killa here for this full moon, and Mama Killa is a goddess of the moon. As it says, she's an Incan goddess and she presides over the power of cycles and seasons. And this is all about like working with the natural energy of cycles and working with the natural energy of the seasons to evolve something and give, essentially like work with the potential of something in alignment with the right timing and the right like the right energy. You know, everything has its timing, everything has its season of growth, and sometimes we can be kind of trying to make something happen or trying to sort of push for something and it's just not the right timing. And sometimes we can be doing the opposite, right? We can be kind of pulling back our energy when actually the cycle or the season is calling for us to start to evolve something and bring something forward or bring something up and out of ourselves, sort of thing. You know, so, you know, this could be like a creative project or going forward with some, you know, taking action on some idea or something. So Mama Killa is all about kind of tuning into the right timing, the right season, the right cycle for something, working with its potential, working with, you know, when it's time to grow something, when it's time to, you know, rest, that kind of thing. So with this full moon in Cancer, she's a really good goddess to work with because, you know, full moon energy is all about things coming into illumination, and Cancer is a sign of, you know, the emotional self. It's very strongly connected with the emotions. It's strongly connected with nurturing, sense of self-love, and like being able to nurture others as well. You know, self-care, these kind of things can come up. You know, also tuning into like what your emotional body is telling you, you know, your instinct, you know, what are you feeling about a situation, or what are you feeling about the potential for something? You know, is it really the right timing, or is it, you know, something related to your ego that's trying to kind of push something forward, or whatever it might be. So that's going to be one of the sort of themes we're going to be looking at in each of the piles is a sense of sort of timing and a sense of the cycle that you're in and the kind of personal season that you're in. So wherever you are in the world, even, you know, if you're in the northern hemisphere like me, we're just going into winter. We've got the winter solstice, or actually by the time this video goes out, we might have just had the winter solstice. So, you know, that can often mean a time of generally just withdrawing and going into stillness. But, you know, sometimes that doesn't always it doesn't always relate to our personal lives. Sometimes actually that time might be a really creative time or something like that. So we're going to kind of take a look at like where you're at in your life with a particular cycle. It's not going to be a very long reading. I normally do these new moon and full moon readings over on my Patreon, and I go into a bit more depth about the particular full moon and what it might be bringing up collectively. But I'm just going to do a little sort of pick a card reading for three different piles, and just keep it kind of short and sweet. And yeah, let me know if this is the kind of thing you guys want to see more of. I'm going through a bit of a review at the moment of what I'm going to be doing next year here on the Elle's Temple YouTube channel and also over on my Patreon. So if you like these new moon and full moon readings and you find them supportive, then let me know in the comment box below. So to introduce each of the three piles, if you are drawn to card number 1 with Soulful, you will be pile number 1. If you are drawn to card number 2 with Purposeful, you'll be pile number 2. And if you are drawn to card number 3 with Fairy Tale, you will be pile number 3. And the timestamps will be below. And if you need a little bit more time to choose which if you need more time to choose which pile is most drawing you in, pause the video. Otherwise, I will see you in your pile. Okay. Hello, pile 1. If you chose the Soulful card, this will be your reading. So straight off the bat, I feel like the season or the cycle that you're working with, or that's coming to light as part of this full moon in Cancer season, this might be something you're very much feeling. It might be sort of something that your emotions are starting to tell you or call you, is that you're coming into your like a season of focusing more on your soul and on your inner life, and also on your inner wisdom. I feel like with this little baby owl that's here, I just kind of feel like you're starting to tune into your, like, the wisdom of your soul is kind of what I'm hearing. Really beautiful energy. So this might have been something that maybe in the past, I'm kind of seeing with that little bee there, it's like you've been a busy bee in the past and you haven't really had the time or energy or space to kind of carve out to really like just sit and be with yourself and listen to your soul and listen to like the longings of your soul, listen to the wisdom of your soul and see what it has to share with you. But I feel like this next sort of period is going to be a cycle where you're going to go through a lot of spiritual growth and you're going to get like a lot of downloads maybe, or a lot of like you're going to go through a sort of spiritual evolution in some way. So I'm going to come back to that card in a moment. We've then got context. We have got the fertile void with inner winter, rest, patience, potency, and secret beginnings. Beautiful. Okay, and then we've got clover with release your guilt. And I'll come back to this card at the end. So what I'm kind of getting here with context is kind of coming back to what I was saying with the Mama Killa card in the introduction, which is about there being a right timing for things, or a right season or cycle for certain things to grow and certain things to be necessary to be in sort of like a rest state, because it's just not the right timing for something to necessarily grow or come about. Like it's not the right timing for a certain manifestation maybe, or it's not the right timing to kind of put yourself out there in some way, or whatever it is that you're maybe you've been wanting or you've been trying to do. It's like there's something about the context not being right, or the timing kind of not being right. It's like you've got to wait till you're sort of in the right place, because context is all about how, things can be interpreted a certain way, or like being sort of in a certain environment, something could be really positive, but in another environment it might be interpreted, or it might not be such a positive thing, or something like that. And I'm kind of getting with this, the fertile void, it's like you're being pulled into a void space. And maybe for some of you, you've had some sort of an ending recently, or you feel like you've been kind of pulled back into kind of a hermit mode, so that you can connect with your soul, and so that you can go through this like inner winter, which is really potent. And sometimes it's one of those things that like, the power of winter is sort of underestimated. We can kind of, we love summer and we love spring and everything like that. And, you see the results of all of that. Like, metaphorically speaking, if you think of like, the productivity of spring and summer, it's like, yes, I've achieved something, things are blooming, things are blossoming on the outside. You can actually see, you've got validation for something you've created, right? If you're in a sort of spring or summer phase in your life, it's like you're producing things, things are blooming, things are happening on the outside world, things are happening in the tangible. When it's a winter phase, this can look like, it can, especially if you're, you've grown up in Western society, we're very trained, right, to be in that sort of more masculine oriented mode. And by masculine, I don't mean gender, I just mean the energy. We all have feminine and masculine energy within us, but we can often be in that energy of thinking like we need to just keep, blossoming on the outside, keep blooming, keep growing, keep pushing, keep, producing things. And it like we often actually just need a winter period in our lives, or a winter period in as a phase for a certain project, or a phase for ourselves, a phase for our health, whatever this cycle is related to. I feel like it's kind of related to yourself and your soul. It's like your soul needs a break, it needs time out, it needs a void space, because it's like it's been maxed out. It's like with that busy bee, it's like you've been on the go. Maybe you've been doing a lot of spiritual things, maybe you've been evolving and upgrading and doing loads of whatever it might be to improve yourself, self-development things, therapy, courses, maybe learning lots, connecting with people, or maybe just in your work life, you've just been super busy. And it's like, you maybe then want to kind of take all that energy and kind of just keep growing and keep pushing stuff out there and keep blossoming. But actually, there's a time and a place for that. There's a context for that. It's like there's an environment, or there's a timing that is perfect for this growth to happen, and it's not yet. It's like right now you're in this fertile void zone. You're in this inner winter where you need to be patient. You need to actually rest. It's really important to take some time out from being that little busy bee and just take time out to rest, to be reflective, to be in stillness, to contemplate things coming up from, like, you know, your emotional self, from your soul. Because that is very potent. It's like, you know, if you think of the energy of a seed during winter, like it's buried under the ground, and, you know, if you're walking above the ground, it looks like nothing is going on, right? It looks like, oh, there's, you know, the ground is kind of quote unquote dead, you know, but actually the seed is underneath the ground, and it's honing its energy, like it's gathering this like potent energy during that dormant state, so that when spring comes, boom, it can like burst into being, it can blossom, it can actually do the growth it needs. Whereas if it tried to, you know, if it's not an evergreen tree or whatever, and it tried to like grow and grow and grow, it would just like conk itself out, right? Like it would burn itself out. That's kind of what I'm seeing with all this red. It's like there's this a lot of red here around this figure, and it's like this, yeah, it's like fire, and like kind of, and actually there's like flames here. It's like, you know, making sure that you're not burning yourself out, making sure you're not burning the candle at both ends, making sure you're not like frying your, like your, sorry, I'm channeling and I can't quite understand what they're saying. It's like, okay, so maybe some of you do something like this, like you're a channel yourself, or you do spiritual work of some sort, healing work of some sort, and it's like you think you can just keep going and going and going. Maybe you really love it, right? And I get this as well. I've gone through a similar thing this year, because I was doing a lot of this stuff, and then I had a health issue. So maybe for some of you, you've been forced into like an inner winter and a state of rest, right? Because like maybe you were burning yourself out, like without necessarily realizing, because you maybe love what you do so much that you hadn't realized how burnt out you actually were. Like it's kind of like I'm seeing like electricity wires kind of being fried, like they're showing me like loads of almost like neurons. So maybe you're like, yeah, if you've got, you know, certain clairaudience skills or clairvoyancy or something, or like, you know, it doesn't even have to be that you're in some spiritual thing. It could just be like your brain, right? Maybe some of you have been studying a lot, you know, or something like that, and you've been pushing your mental neurons, you know, you've been pushing your brain too much, and it's like frying the wiring is kind of what I'm getting. And it's like something around it being the efforts you've maybe been putting into something haven't been either quite the right environment, the right time, the right place, the right sort of community for it, or something like that. It's like there's a need to kind of like pull your energy back. I feel like some of you during this sort of rest period, this void period, are going to like go through a bit of a metamorphosis here with this dragonfly at her throat. This could be related to how you communicate and express yourself, because the dragonfly is over her throat chakra, which is all about how you express. But I'm also being drawn to this fertile void. And again, coming back to, they want me to really stress that point of like, I know it looks like nothing's going on. I know from the outside, it looks like you're being kind of, okay, this is what I'm channeling. This is not what I'm saying to you, but this might be how some of you perceive it, is that it looks like you may be being lazy. And you're not. I want to stress that that's not me saying to you like, oh my gosh, Mama, and like you are so lazy if you're not like out there producing every day. No. In fact, that's exactly the point they want to make. It's the opposite of that. You may be like sort of telling yourself like, oh, if I'm not doing something 24/7, I'm being lazy. Or if I'm not sort of pushing something out there, or doing something, being productive every day, I'm being lazy. But actually sometimes like just taking a bit of time out, taking a rest period to just like listen to yourself, listen to your soul, you know, to just have space kind of thing. It's like void is like space. You need space in your life. Like I'm sensing there needs to be carving out this space, so that you can kind of breathe and like allow the wisdom that you need, that you're seeking, to kind of come through. And I feel like because this is, this coming back to this full moon in Cancer, it's like some sort of emotional understanding will come through, some sort of a, like the moon can rule your intuition as well, and also your dreams. So maybe for some of you, getting a lot more rest. It does say rest here as well with the fertile void. So getting a lot more rest over this time or over that full moon. Paying attention to your dreams, maybe journaling, just taking some time out, carving out some space to kind of just like allow this metamorphosis to happen. And it will create fertility off the back of that. By having that rest, it's like, the land needs to go fallow. You can't just plant, in the ground like for years and years and years. At a certain point, it's got to be left to go fallow. And it's like there's kind of, that's the sort of metaphor they're showing me, is there's a need to kind of have some rest time so that you can reconnect with your creative fertility again. Like it will sort of kickstart that again off the back of having this rest. And I feel like with guilt, this is linked with this sense of productivity. It's like you maybe have this thing where you feel like you have to be constantly productive, or you feel really guilty, like you feel guilty if you're not working. And that might be something to work through this full moon cycle, is like, maybe journal with that part of yourself. Like, why do I think I need to constantly like prove myself? Or why do I need to constantly feel like I have to work, 6-hour weeks or something? Or why do I have to kind of sacrifice myself in this way, but like sort of fry my brain, or fry my, like burn myself out, fry my adrenals or something like that, in order to feel whatever it is you're feeling. Start paying attention to that. Maybe you're feeling guilty if you're not doing that. You're feeling lazy, like I said, and again, these are not things I'm saying like you are. These might be things that you are programming, that you have within you, that might start to come to light and might start to come into illumination. So it's really saying like release that guilt, like let go of that. It's important to have this rest. Do not feel guilty for having rest through this period. And I feel like this is although this is a full moon in Cancer reading, this is not just a few days. This is like, a season for you. So like winter season is usually like, 3 or 4 months. So, well, yeah, it's, I guess it depends on where you are in the world, because some countries it's a lot shorter than others, but, I'm giggling because I just think in the UK, like sometimes it feels like it's like a lot longer than that, but I kind of feel like, it's a season in a sense. It's not a few days. This is not like, okay, like I'll just take the weekend off and I'll have a rest, and then boom, on Monday I'll be back to being like super productive and being a busy bee again. Like I kind of feel like, these themes might be coming up as part of this full moon, but the action that you need to take, or basically the opposite of action, like the need to have some rest, needs to be kind of a good like season of that, like a good maybe few months of that. And finally, to end, we have this Branwen of the star Ostara with a new beginning. And this is so interesting because Ostara is, it's one of the Sabbats in the 8 Wheel of the Year Sabbats. And it happens in the Northern Hemisphere. It happens around, so it's the spring equinox of Ostara. So it's in March, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's around March. And so I feel like this is kind of confirming what I was just saying about this winter period being like a season. So if you're watching this now, then it could be the next few months, and then around Ostara, if you are in the Northern Hemisphere, or the equivalent of, a few months from when you're watching this, you'll have this new beginning. And we've got like butterflies, which is symbolic of metamorphosis and rebirth, like with the dragonfly there, and we've got rabbits, which is symbolic of fertility and creative fertility. So yeah, I just feel like there is going to be this new beginning. So trust there's going to be a new beginning coming for you, but it's only going to kind of happen off the back of going into this void, going through this state of rest, of winter, of being very patient with yourself, letting go of any guilt while you go through this, and trusting that, I mean, you've got two cards that say about beginnings, because you've got secret beginnings here with the fertile void, and then a new beginning here. So there's definitely a new beginning coming for you. I'm sorry, that's out of shot. But yeah, there's definitely a new beginning coming for you, pile one. I feel like that is all the messages I have for you. All the best with this full moon in Cancer cycle and this period of rest that you're going through, this season of rest. I hope that you can release any guilt, release any fears of how people might perceive you, or just, you know, what might be coming up within your own self as you navigate through this period of stillness. And just trust your soul, trust in the timings of things, the season of things, and you'll have this beautiful fertile new beginning that's coming to you in a few months' time. Okay, my lovelies, I wish you all the very best, and I will see you in the next reading. Comment below if it resonated. I would really love to hear from you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the reading. It really helps my channel to grow. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already part of my community. I would love to have you here, and I will see you in the next reading. All my love. Bye. Hi, pile 2. If you chose the purposeful card, then this will be your reading on what is being illuminated, or what cycle are you shifting into this full moon in Cancer. So let's get all your cards out and we'll get into your message. So we've got the first card up is revision. Okay, interesting. And then we have the reunion, soul recognition, collaboration, partnership, friendship. Okay, and we've got sword, make the change. And then I will finish with this card in a moment. Okay, so pile number 2. I feel like the season that you're in, or what's kind of coming to light. It's interesting. We've got a full moon actually depicted on this card, and this figure out here with a lot of cats, which is symbolic of independence. And with the word purposeful, I feel like there's something coming to light, something being brought into illumination around your purpose, or around like stepping into your purpose more powerfully and becoming more independent, following like your own path. Maybe for some of you, you've been doing a certain, I don't know, maybe some other job or some other career path or some other course of study or something like that. And you're either getting to a point where you're becoming more independent in that same role or that same kind of path that you've been on, or you're starting to feel called towards stepping into your purpose more fully, which may mean a bit of a revision, a bit of a shift in a different direction, a bit of like, not necessarily kind of like, I'm hearing don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is a really odd expression, but I hope you know what I mean. It's kind of like, it doesn't mean like you have to change everything. Like revision doesn't necessarily mean completely like, you know, walking away from everything you've been doing and doing something completely different. It just means kind of revising something. Maybe for some of you, you know, this revision could be like literally doing revision. Like this next cycle of your life is like studying for something, like studying for a course, or you know, doing revision for a certain exam or something like that, some sort of path of study. And you're feeling more purposeful in that, like you're sort of understanding why you need to kind of, you know, study those things, because, you know, it's leading you to your purpose. I'm hearing, this is really specific, this might be for like one person, but I'm hearing like some sort of astrological study could be something that could be coming up. Maybe some of you are studying astrology, or revising like what you've learned about astrology or something. That was very specific, but that's just kind of what channeled through. I'm also getting with this dragon, kind of like, I often think of like really creative energy with dragons. So for some of you, this could be like some sort of creative project that is part of your like life's purpose that you've been working on for a while, and you're going through a phase of revising that, of maybe making some changes, or like just, you know, going through a bit of a revision with that process. Yeah, and actually interesting, I'm seeing now with sword, make the change. You've kind of got two cards related to change. Actually, I'm going to move that one over and put these two together. And we've got the number 7, which is also often indicating an end of a cycle. So maybe for some of you, you've ended some kind of path of study, or you've ended some job, or you've ended some like career path you were on, or something like that, and or a creative project you were working on or something, and you're now changing or revising. For some of you it'll be like quite a drastic change, like this figure's cutting off quite a lot of her hair here, like it's quite like impulsive. Maybe you know how sometimes you just get the feeling of like, right, I just want to have short hair now, I'm going to cut it off. You know, maybe some of you, I'm kind of getting that energy of someone who's gone through like a breakup, and they're like, okay, I'm going to cut my hair now, and kind of go through a image change, and like, you know, start taking up different hobbies that I never did when I was in that relationship, or, you know, something like that. It could be something along those lines that some of you are changing, like, you know, your image or something about yourselves. But there's something around change and revising something. And I also feel like kind of coming into, with the cats coming into independence, and with the dragon coming into your power as well, this revision and this change is going to help you step into and feel more powerful, and help you become more independent in some ways. So, you know, this could be, I'm kind of getting a couple of scenarios through. For some of you, this could be like, maybe before, you know, you were on a certain path, like whether it was like you were working for a certain institution or a certain you know, say university or something like that, doing a certain course, and now you're graduating, and then you're becoming more independent, you're taking the knowledge and the wisdom that you've learned, and you're stepping into your purpose more on your own, like in your own way. So you're making that sort of change of like, you know, finishing that, and that was the end of that cycle. So now you're kind of becoming more independent in your work and in your sense of purpose. For others of you, it's kind of more general in your life, like almost like I'm coming back to this whole feeling of maybe someone's gone through a breakup and they're becoming more independent in their own lives. Like maybe, you know, but previously you did a lot with your partner or something like that. And now you're kind of just, you know, becoming a lot more independent and making sort of changes that you want in your life, and, you know, changing your hair, or changing your style, or changing the sort of hobbies you do, or, you know, what kind of things you watch. You know, it could be small things, it could be big things, it could be like you're changing locations, you're going to live, you know, you're going to start maybe move somewhere else or something. So it could be small change, it could be big change, but there's something around change that relating more broadly, relating to becoming more independent and becoming more stronger in yourself, more powerful, and more like knowing what your purpose is, at least for the next phase of your life. Maybe not necessarily forever, because, you know, these things can evolve as time goes on, right? It may not be sort of your whole life purpose, and that may not be necessarily one thing, but it may just be like, okay, I feel more purposeful in my day-to-day, you know, finding more fulfillment within your day-to-day, finding like a sense of routine, or a sense of purpose within your job, or within your role, or within, you know, just your life more generally. So I feel like that's something that is the main thing that's kind of coming through, that this full moon might shine some light on this. I'm also getting with the reunion, soul recognition, collaboration, partnership, and friendship. I feel like as you make these changes, and as you make these revisions and step more powerfully into like your purpose and your true, like being your true self, and following your life purpose and being more independent, you'll start to attract, like there'll be this soul family that will start being like magnetized to you, if they haven't already. If you already have started meeting people like that, that will expand even more. But I feel like for some of you, you may have been kind of getting like making the cut. It's like maybe some of you have had to like cut away friendships or partnerships or things like that, or even, you know, jobs or colleagues or something like that, who have you know, it's got to a point where they're just not really in alignment with you and where you're going, where you're sort of heading in this new sort of phase of your life. And that's going to create the space that's like a really powerful sign to the universe. Sometimes it's quite hard making that cut because that's all we know, and we want to, be comfortable, and even if something doesn't feel quite right, sometimes it's really hard to walk away from it. But I feel like by saying like, no, this is who I really am, this is my purpose, this is what I'm going towards, these are the kind of people I want to be meeting, and you've made that cut, you've kind of created that space. And like nature abhors a vacuum, right? So like where you've created that space, the universe voomf is going to bring in like all these beautiful souls that are like part of your soul family or soul tribe. Maybe some of you are going to start collaborating as part of, like, this could be related to something to do with this purpose that you're stepping into more fully. For others of you, this could be new friends that start coming in. It could be like a soulmate that might come in. I'm not really necessarily getting, like, this isn't a love reading, so I'm not necessarily getting a romantic relationship really strongly, but that could just be as part of this overall, like, you stepping into that energy of really being yourself and following your purpose and focusing on yourself and focusing on your own life and making the changes you needed to make and cutting away the things that are no longer in alignment. And it's like, if that is something you want to call in, like soulmates or soul friends or whatever it might be, or soul, like a business partner, or collaborations or something like that, in the line of work that you're in, then that is going to be something that will start to come in because you've done that work of discerning, like, okay, these things are, it's kind of like with the cutting off the old hair. It's like, that was part of my journey for a while, but not to kind of, I don't want to sort of be brutal, and if this doesn't feel right, this might not be the path for you. I feel like this is kind of more something that you probably already know, like you're on the verge of doing anyway, so this might just be the little nudge that might come up as part of this full moon. In Cancer, this might be something that you start to feel more strongly, like, you might just get, say a bit triggered by certain people in some way and be like, oh, you know what, I need to just make that change. Like this group of people is not really in alignment with me anymore. Like, maybe they're perfectly lovely people or something, but they just, like are holding you back from being able to step into your purpose. Like maybe, every time you talk about something that's related to something you really want to do, they might be a bit critical or something. Or there could be a lot of drama or something. It could be a number of different things, but I'm just kind of getting like focusing on yourself, is the most important thing. And if there are people that don't feel like they're sort of supportive of you or like their soul family, then maybe like, creating some boundaries or pulling back from that and focusing on yourself will create the space for some beautiful, beautiful friends to come in and soul family to come in. And finally, we have card number 28, a moonlit dance with feminine energy. Beautiful. So I feel like with this, we've got another full moon here. I feel like there's just a lot of like kind of relaxed energy. Like you're moving into a cycle of maybe after going through some difficulty, having to make some changes, having to cut some things out, having to kind of like create space for yourself and sort of like become more independent in some way. You're then going to go through this like beautiful kind of very it's like very soft, soulful energy where I'm kind of getting like you just feel really free to be yourself. This person's energy, she's like out in the woods dancing under a full moon, and she's just in a little dress and like her arms are up and her hair's out and she's barefoot and she just looks very free, right? So I'm kind of getting more broadly that for many of you, like the energy that you're coming into is feeling, I'm hearing like feeling free to be me, like feeling free to be yourself, like feeling free to be authentically yourself and be in your body and enjoy life and enjoy connecting with new people and enjoying maybe certain rituals, like maybe do it for some of you, this is doing more dancing, and maybe that could be a sign as well that like that might be where you meet some like a partner or some friends, is by going dancing or doing some dancing or just getting into your feminine energy more, like being in that receptive energy, being in that energy of flow. being in that energy of enjoying yourself and enjoying your body and enjoying, like, you know, kind of the moon and nature and all that kind of thing. And like when you're sort of flowing with like that kind of energy, that's when, you know, things like beautiful synchronicities and like collaborations and people can come through, because you're kind of just really enjoying life and enjoying being who you are, is kind of what I'm getting. So, oh, really beautiful energy. I feel like that's all the messages I have for you today, my loves. I hope that message resonated for you. Leave a comment below if it did. I would really love to hear from you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the reading. It helps tell me what content is resonating for you guys, and it helps my channel to grow. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already part of the community. I would love to have you here. All the best with this full moon in Cancer, and I will see you in the next reading. All my love. Bye. Hi there, pile number 3. If you chose the fairy tale card, this will be your reading on what is being illuminated this full moon in Cancer. So I feel like this particular full moon, I'm just noticing there's a full moon on this card, and also it's very purple in color, which is indicative of, well, both the kind of, I'm getting like third eye chakra, which is related to your intuition, your inner wisdom, like all the sort of clear skills, like your psychic sense or anything like that, as well as like your crown chakra, which is your connection with the divine or your connection with the universe. So I feel like that might be something that you might be getting, you might sort of have some deepening of these, like, or some sort of a healing of those chakras around this time, or a deepening of your intuition. There might be some intuitive messages that come through to you, or a lot of like downloads that may come through to you about your next phase. But I'm kind of getting with the fairy tale there, this is all good stuff. I'm kind of getting like dream, like you're getting an indication of like the dream life that you could have, is kind of what I'm picking up. It's like you might start getting like even just daydreaming, or at night you might start dreaming of like, you know, a sort of a fairy tale like life that you could actually live. It's like I'm kind of picking up, maybe some of you are doing certain manifesting techniques, like you might be doing, you know, that whole Neville Goddard thing of like as you're falling asleep you sort of visualize or you know, speak about, you know, what it is you want to see in your life. So maybe some of you are really tapping into creating your dream life, creating like a fairy tale kind of life is what I'm getting. It's really beautiful. Let's have a look at your other cards to get the other messages. So we've got card number 24 with potion. Remember to practice self-love. Okay. And we've got alliance. Okay. And we have got the thorn. Protection, boundaries, clear communication. And I'll finish up with this card in a moment. Okay. So, interesting. I'm kind of getting, I'm picking up quite strongly, pile 3, that for many of you, you might be, this sort of fairy tale and with alliance here as well, it's like you might be trying to manifest like a soulmate or a twin flame or a love partnership, you know, divine life partner, whatever it might be. Actually, I'm going to put fairy tale and alliance. Sorry, I'm just feeling like these two cards kind of go together and these two cards kind of go together. I feel like for some of you, you're trying to manifest more love in your life in some way. For many of you, I feel like this is some sort of fairy tale romance that you want, or a soulmate, or, you know, a life partner. For others of you, this might be, you know, some sort of alliance or support in your life from other people, like maybe just within an existing partnership, feeling a stronger sense of an alliance with that person, feeling more support, or, you know, within like a business partnership, or within, you know, your friendships or your community. Like you one thing that you want to manifest or have been working to call in is a sense of alliance, like feeling sort of allied to others, or having others who have got your back kind of thing. Maybe for some of you also, I'm kind of seeing with the like four directions here, this could be that some of you you might be in business or something like that, and you want to form like alliances with other people around the world. or like collaborations, or like have clients around the world, or business partners around the world, or something like that. And that would be your like dream or your fairy tale idea of like, oh, that would be the perfect business if I could expand this to be like global, and I could, my products could reach around the world, or I could have clients around the world, or have collaborations with people everywhere. It's like wanting to connect. There's this energy of like wanting to connect, I feel like, coming from this pile. But then we have over here, remember to practice self-love, and also with the thorn, protection, boundaries, and clear communication. So there's something around, maybe for some of you, if you feel like you've been struggling to manifest this, or wondering why it hasn't happened yet, because I'm just being called to mind, as I was speaking about in the introduction with, Mama Killa, the moon, and how she rules over cycles and seasons and the timing of things, and how sometimes things aren't always ready to bloom when we want them to, or sometimes things aren't always, they might have a lot of potential, but it's not quite their time to grow, or that's not quite the time to kind of like to sort of deliver to us at the moment that we want it. Sometimes we try to control timing because it's coming from our ego, and we feel like we need it to happen on a certain timeline, or like, it means something about us, or whatever it might be. And I kind of feel like what's coming through is that this fairy tale life, whatever it is, whether it's a partnership or a career, will happen when you have or are in a strong place of like practicing self-love. And you'll all be maybe at slightly different stages of that. For some of you, I feel like you're already doing that, in which case, if you are, then great. Like, this is confirmation that, you are on the right track. And the more you practice self-love and the more you tap into that energy, the more likely you are to manifest this fairy tale relationship, or fairy tale life, fairy tale career, or partnerships, or whatever it might be, collaborations, etc. For others of you, I feel like this card with protection, boundaries, clear communication is, it's not exactly like a warning or anything. It's just something to be aware of. It's just something that might come to your attention through this full moon, is the need to like protect yourself. I'm just noticing how this figure here, it's like there's similar kind of spiky wintry bushes like that aren't in flower around her as there are here, with these like kind of thorns, and then in between these thorns there's this beautiful rose. And it's kind of like, the rose has two sides to it, right? It's got the beautiful flower at the top that is really soft and kind of, almost voluptuous, or like very feminine, very graceful, very soft, very open. But the top of the rose is kind of protected by the the stem with all the thorns on it. So it's got that dual side of being sort of fierce and boundaried and protecting itself, and also soft and open and receptive. And so there's something around like making sure that you have strong, healthy boundaries before you go into any alliances. And that applies not just for personal like love relationships or romantic relationships, but also for all other relationships, friendships, for family relationships, for business relationships, collaborations, creative relationships, whatever it might be, whatever alliance it is that you're kind of wanting to call in, whatever connections you're wanting to make as part of this kind of fairy tale dream life you're manifesting. It's really important to stay focused on your self-love, practice healthy boundaries, and also clearly communicate like your own needs, making sure that you stay strong in recognizing and owning and expressing your needs as well. Not just because like a true alliance is like reciprocal, right? whether that's a partnership, whether it's, you know, creative collaboration, there's an equal to and fro, you know, as much as possible. There's a respect, you know, there's a sense of being able to, like, you express your needs and they're acknowledged by the other person, you know, and vice versa. So there's kind of just something around ensuring, like, it's a kind of a heads up. It's like ensuring that whatever alliance you manifest for yourself, or whatever alliances you get into, that you clearly communicate yourself and you clearly communicate what your boundaries are, so that you can have healthy relationships and healthy alliances. And the more you practice self-love, I feel like that's the foundation, because, you know, it's when we're not in a state of self-love, right, and we're just in a state of you know, trying to manifest these things on the outside to be you know, because we want that thing on the outside to reflect to us, oh, I'm lovable, I'm worthy. But it's actually the other way round. You've got to create the feeling of love and worthiness from within first, and then the alliances and partnerships and things that show up from the outside reflect back to you the love that you feel within yourself. So if you haven't been practicing self-love, or if you don't feel very loving of yourself, trying to manifest this sort of fairy tale, like, you know, what's the word? What's that phrase? Like a kind of knight in shining armor type thing. Or even, you know, in the case of a business, maybe you have a lot of creative ideas, but not a lot of follow through with the practical side, and you maybe want to have just someone else who comes in and kind of just carries all that out for you, or something like that. You know, it could just be something around making sure you're getting really clear on, you know, what your strengths and weaknesses are and what you bring to the table, and ensuring that you're really anchored in that self-love, and then the right alliances, the right people will come in. By being discerning and setting those boundaries, by having those thorns, that keeps out the people that are like predators, right? Or the people that aren't going to respect you. They aren't going to show you the love that you have for yourself. You know, they're just going to show you, they're going to mirror back any kind of insecurities you have within yourself. And it's not to say like, oh, you've got to become some sort of Zen Buddha and not have any insecurities at all. No, but it's just like, you know, being self-aware, you know, practicing self-love. And it is a practice, you know, because sometimes, like, this is something that I went through years ago after coming out of a toxic relationship, of being like, well, you know, how do I fix this self-love thing? Like, how do I get it? Like, some people just seem to have it, and I don't know how to get it if I didn't sort of, you know, grow it from childhood or whatever. And what came back to me really strongly from my guides was like, you don't get it. It's not like a product that you buy. It's a practice. It's like brushing your teeth. It's like going to the gym. It's like any practice. It's like writing, whatever it might be. Self-love is something you practice daily, and you do that by doing things like, what are my boundaries? You know, what are my needs in a relationship or in a collaboration or in a partnership? You know, in a job, you know, whatever it might be. You know, and then actually taking action on expressing those needs, and, you know, if your boundaries are pushed back, on taking action on standing up for yourself and things like that. Those things are self-love practices. Things like bubble baths and, you know, chocolates for yourself, that's not practicing self-love. That's treats. And quite often in modern society, we can equate self-love practices with things that are just, they're pleasurable and they're great and they can make you feel good temporarily, but they're not actually like going to shift anything. They're nice and they feel good, you know, and it's not to knock, like, I love baths, don't get me wrong, but you know, practicing self-love, as much as, like, it's interesting, there's this in this case, she's got all these little jars and doing little rituals here, which, you know, that could be something that could be a good way to connect with you know, doing some sort of little holistic ritual or something like that could help you to connect in with yourself. But I kind of feel like it's actually, the self-love is less about like potions and lotions and bubble baths and things like that, and it's more about things like, what do I need to do to protect myself in these situations? What do I need to do to set healthy boundaries? What are my boundaries, and how am I going to enforce them? And what am I going to then do if someone doesn't respect my boundaries and stuff like that? And these are don't get me wrong, I've been there, I've gone through this, I know how difficult it is. But having things like that, having predator type relationships, or having unhealthy toxic relationships, or things where people don't respect your boundaries is often the very like trigger, I guess, the catalyst, that's the word I'm looking for. It's the very catalyst to help you to grow those thorns that maybe you didn't have in the first place, especially because I feel like for many of you on this channel, you're likely empaths, or, you know, if you don't sort of identify as an empath, you have a very empathic type nature, or a very sensitive and understanding nature. You may be more inclined to like love other people than love yourself, to support others, or to like look out for others, to be an ally to others, and then to have them do that back for you. And I feel like there's something around kind of making sure that you're in this sort of dream life that you're creating for yourself and manifesting for yourself, making sure that you're protecting yourself. And like, I'm seeing these little children, like a little young girl's face here, which is like protecting your inner child from kind of any further hurt, particularly if you have already been through something difficult. But yeah, sorry, that was a bit of I realized that was quite an intense and harsh like it might have been a little bit harsh for some of you to have heard that, but I hope you know that it's coming from a place of love, and you know, I'm channeling this through from your guides, and they really want to protect you. And, you know, sometimes there are those people out there who take advantage of empaths particularly, or take advantage of people who are very, you know, giving and, you know, full of light and things like that. And so there's this strong message around making sure you're drawing healthy boundaries. And to finish up, we have Matoaka's truth with reconciliation. So I feel like there might be some reconciliation that might be coming up for some of you, that might be here, and that might, like, it might be with a romantic person, like, or like, for example, it could be someone who maybe previously you had some sort of connection with them, and maybe there's been a break or something, and you've had some time apart, and you've been able to use that, like I said, like you've been able to use that time as a catalyst to, like, you know, practice self-love and like work out what your needs are and work out what your boundaries are and things. And now there's this opportunity, now that you've kind of done that work, to like reconcile with someone. So this could be symbolic of like a like a particular connection that could be coming back, and there could be some reconciliation. That might just be for a few of you. For others of you, or more broadly, I feel like this reconciliation energy is almost more like you reconciling with your inner self and with your inner child. And like, the more you practice self-love and the more you set healthy boundaries, the more you're like reconciled with your inner self, because you've got this like boundary around you where it's like protected, so it feels safe to kind of come out now. It feels safe to be heard, because there's, you know, this whole thing around clear communication. So there's something around like communicating your truth and like understanding your own truth and being able to express it. And I feel like you're being really reconciled with that through this process. So yeah, I feel like that is all the messages I have for you, pile number 3. I hope that resonated for you. Leave a comment below if it did. I would love to hear from you. If it resonated, hit the like button. If you enjoyed the reading, it helps my channel to grow and helps me know which content is resonating. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already part of the community. I would love to have you here. All the best with this full moon in Cancer, and I will see you in the next reading. All my love. Bye.